Please repeat the sixth shloka after me. Yetanyapito karmani sangam tyaktva phalani cha kartavyani me partha निश्चितं मतमुत्तमम् एतान्यपितु कर्माणि, these kinds of karma which was earlier mentioned. So what were the earlier mentioned karma? Yajna, dana, tapa, pavanani manishino. Yajna, dana and tapa, these are the kinds of karma which are not to be given or given up. Kartavyani iti me partha nishchitam matam uttamam. This is my firm opinion that yajna, dana and tapas have to be performed no matter what condition or what kind of framework that we are living in. So when here he is trying to conclude from the fifth shloka towards the sixth one. In the fifth one he said, Kartavyani iti me. These have to be performed, and while you perform these, you have to make sure that Sangam tyaktva phalani cha, that the anxiety that we set ourselves to, those anxieties have to be given up, and while giving up these anxieties, perform the actions diligently. Otherwise, like for example, when we take up, I don't know today's children how they think, but when I was young, I can remember that when I come back and I had to study for something, while midway through, while trying to study for one particular subject, and suddenly the thought comes, oh, that homework and that project is also pending, so I pick out that. and halfway through, then I remember something else. So by the time I realize that there are 2-3 hours spent, I look on my table, there are all subjects, all books spread over, giving a very good impression to parents. Bechara bahut pad raha hai. But when you look at the efficiency of doing it, probably the efficiency is lost because of the anxiety of jumping into the other aspects as well. So when one job is taken up, though we today promote that multi-focused, here Bhagavan says focused on one single thing at any given point of time. And while you are focusing on that one point, you are more efficient and effective in the way you contribute to that particular action, rather than spreading oneself thin. And therefore there is a debate while driving, texting. There are various states that are putting a ban. There's so many accidents that we see, that the more gadgets that increase in the car, some of these high-end cars that you sit in, it almost looks like a tanker, and there is like a James Bond thing. There's so many switches and so many things there. While driving, your phone is connected to it, your MP3 player is connected, you don't know where to press what. And while you are driving and you are in the middle of driving in a traffic, and then you have to, the phone comes, the phone call comes, and then you're like, which button to press? And by then you suddenly realize that the car, focus on one thing at a time. Today I've been driven, and I found this utility pickup that was right in front of us. And usually they have, how do I drive? Call this number. Right on the top of it, there was a sign, no mobile use vehicle. Because when the vehicle is in movement, they are prohibited to use, not for calling or texting. So that you stay focused on that one given job. In Hindi they say, nazar hati, durghatna ghati. The moment focus is diluted, it is that vulnerable period wherein lot of accidents that happen, because we get consumed by the present distractions. Add to that the anxieties that get projected about the future, and the vast baggage that we carry from our past. Drop all those and perform the actions. Nishchitam matam uttamam. And there is no second thought about it. This is the most efficient way of action. If you remember in the 4th shloka we had started, he said that there are 3 kinds in Tyaga. He is yet to come to that 3 kinds. So we are not lost track of that particular thought. Before he goes there, he is giving us the introduction. So in the 7th shloka, repeat after me, he picks the 3 kinds. What is the 3 kinds? Tamasic, Rajasic and Sattvic Tyaga. So what is the Tamasic Tyaga? Niyatasya tu sannyāsaha karmano nopapadyate mohat tasya parityagaha tamasah parikirtitaha. In the field of responsibilities, duties and obligations, when the responsibility, duty and obligation are not fulfilled, are not even recognized, that is my responsibility, that is my duty, that is my And as parents, probably you can relate to it, and immediately you jump into the seat of being a parent and say, this is exactly what I tell my children. Focus on your responsibilities and fulfill them. And then, coming as an Indian parent, we have certain set of dialogues. Listening to one set, I thought it may be applicable or it is repetitive in other families as well. When I was growing up, this is the parent telling the child. When I was growing up, I did not have these kinds of comforts, these kinds of luxuries, all of which is provided to you. All that you have to do is focus on your fulfilling your responsibility. Not just studies. There are other responsibilities too. While you are at home, there are household responsibilities. As a student, there are responsibilities. As a being of the society, then there are some social responsibilities. Though they may be very little, minimal, but still you have all these responsibilities. At that given point of time, wherever you are, whatever is the responsibility, focus on that and fulfill it. And most of the issues come with respect to the household responsibilities and studies, especially with children, wherein we become Bhagavan Krishna and they become Arjuna and we give Gitopadesha. The same knowledge has to extend. The same knowledge has to extend wherein it reflects in our day-to-day actions as well. When the responsibilities are not recognized and not fulfilled, such abandonment of one's responsibilities, duties and obligations, they are called tamasika tyaga. Another classic example that can be taken, where Gurudev also mentions it here. There are certain laws which govern that particular country. As in this country, at least that particular state. From one state to the other, the laws also little change. In some places it is legal. That which is legal in some places may be illegal in other places. You know what I'm mentioning, right? We'll take a simple example of driving on the right side of the road. How many of you, when you go back to India, dare to drive there? Anybody? Good. Did you come recently to US? Because the confusion is, which side is the right side? So you say that all my life I have learned to drive it on the left side. I am going to drive here, whatever others think. And then the cop pulls you over and says, oh, I did not know. Our ignorance of the law is no excuse. You have to learn. That is why you have to go through that, the test, wherein you have to read through the book, go through the exam, and then go through the test. And before you go through the test, then there is Dharma Kshetra, Kurukshetra in the family, because the spouse is trying to teach and maximum tensions extend while that teaching process. Is it a rememberable memory of the past? How did I come to know? There was a recent couple and they were like, she came in huffing puffing into the ashram. I said, what happened today? He doesn't know how to teach. I said, what are you trying to teach? Driving, Swami. I've been driving in this country and she thinks I don't know driving. I've been asking her to drive in a lane and she goes all over the place. Dharma kshetra, Guru kshetra, Dharma yuddha begins. So you have to go through that process of learning. Then you are not given a license, you are given a permit license. And that gives you that somebody who already knows it, along with them you can experiment. I know so many people who do not get onto the freeway. Even after 20 years of living in the country, they avoid like plague. Say from point A to point B it takes 15 minutes, for them it might take 45 minutes. Because they have to go through all the intersections and traffic signals and finally reach there. They reach. They accommodate for that 45 minutes. Just to get onto the freeway there is that fear. So I asked him, were you given a license? Are you still on your permit? Then you are made aware of all these laws. And then you give your final test. You go to the DMV and then you give a test. Wherein, what is the most difficult one of all those tests? Why should I assume? Parallel parking. So they say you turn this side and go slowly and then turn this side and then go forward and then backward, and you should be 6 inches away from the curb. Too far away from the curb, you are disqualified. Too close, you start denting your rim. 6 inches sitting on this side, trying to find a curb on this side, and so you'll see at the DMV training thing, there are these 2 poles. And people come early in the morning, keep practicing and go hit those poles so many times. And why do we need to go through that? Nowadays we have the cars with the camera, another distraction. Looking at the camera, you don't know which side or which side, this side or that side, or where am I seeing, and then again. So you are taught all these various nuances of the traffic regulations because that is the law. Oh, I did not know. Then you are disqualified from doing it. When I came into this country about 13 years ago, after making my thorough investigation and understanding the environment, I went to the temple or ashram board members and I said, I need 5 things. I had 5 C's. First, I need a computer. Second, I need a cable connection. In those days there was that internet also through the cable. And then I need a cell phone. No. One at a time. Computer, cable, cell phone, and then car. And then a credit card to pay for all this. Well, I very soon realized that if you do not have a car in this country, you are bekar. Hindi bekar, not Gujarati bekar. Any Gujaratis here? In Gujarati, bekar means 2 cars. Be means 2. So Hindi bekar, you become useless. Anywhere that you have to move, anywhere that you have, whatever you have to do, it is through that vehicle. So you have to learn. To fulfill the responsibility, you have to learn that, learn it. Oh, you know, I am so scared. Tamasaha parikirtitaha. That fear is an expression of tamasic tyaga. There are so many people scared of their responsibilities. if they have a stage fright and their job is to constantly do an event management, and they have to have a lot of coming on the stage, and you go onto the stage and freeze. Therefore, you avoid it as much as possible. Various things that can be spoken here, that we completely shy away from involving in fulfilling that responsibility, though that responsibility is staring at us. Either we are ignorant of the responsibility or lack the skills to execute it. Therefore say that the grapes that cannot be reached are sour. Therefore I have given up. Such giving up is called tamasic tyaga. Many of us don't even have a choice to do tamasic tyaga. We are pushed into a situation wherein we become rajasic. And how do we do the rajasic one? That is given in the next shloka. Dukkhamityeva yat karma kaya klesha bhayatyajet sakritva rajasam tyagam naiva tyaga phalam labhet. Dukkhamityeva yat karma. While performing or fulfilling one's responsibilities, that action which leads in fulfilling that responsibility is very difficult. Dukkha. Very difficult. And it also is strenuous. Lot of exertion. Bodily, physical level, there is a lot of physical exertion. Therefore, giving up that responsibility and never cater to it. So one of my mission members, I have not seen him in like what, 6 months. He was traveling and suddenly I see him. Now he has morphed, he has changed. His Saguna Sakara has more description now. More attributes now. So I said, what happened to you? Suddenly you have put on a pot belly and your face looks so swollen. And by mistake I commented that in front of his wife. So the wife also said, tell him Swami, tell him that. I have been trying to get him onto that treadmill and he calls it as a dreadmill. He refuses to get onto it. I got it only for him. He uses twice a day to put the used towel as soon as he comes out. That is the only thing that he uses it for. So the first level of defense, that when I asked him, why don't you take care of your health? Is taking care of health our responsibility or not? It is definitely a responsibility. It's a need, it's a necessity. I asked him, why don't you? And Swami ji, बहुत मुश्किल से बढ़ाया है, बहुत मेहनत लगा है इसको बढ़ाने के लिए. I put in a lot of good effort in building up to this size. Now you ask me to lose it, it hurts. I said, enough of jokes. I'm asking seriously, why don't you do something? He starts giving me, it is boring. I said, start walking outside, it keeps you entertained. Or at least when you are trying to jog, people look at you and you are an entertainer. Provide fun or observe the fun. You go outside and jog or walk. Oh no, it is too cold now. I said, what exactly is your problem? Why don't you get onto that treadmill and start walking? Swami ji, it is too much of exertion. Kaya klesha bhayat. Too much of exertion. I can't. Feeding oneself, because the sattvic food, when it goes inside, it builds sattvic environment inside. So the purity of the food that we take in also is a responsibility. But then, so much of trouble. In India these days, they say that the fastest growing market of business is the curry point. So they have these intersections where they have, they cook all these different curries and roti and rice. So you go there, pick and pack for that day and take it as dinner. And what is left of the evening becomes lunch for next day. Why can't you take so much of exertion? Therefore given up. Dukkha vityeva, therefore given up. Actually it is very boring work, Swami, therefore I can't do it. Therefore never do that. So various responsibilities that keep staring at us, but we give up, we don't involve in those and we don't perform those just out of the fear of the exertion that it demands. And suddenly someday one gets inspired and I have to do this exercise, goes there for 1.5 hours, he does this, these very aggressive, I'm losing track of the
aerobics? Exercise machines.
Boot camp kind of a thing wherein they have these programs. And that fellow comes and he walks like a robot. So what happened? Every limb down there is hurting. I cannot sit, I cannot squat, I cannot walk. I said, it will hurt you for another 2 days. Then it will reduce? No, by then you will get used to it. See, when they use the word for exercise, when they say burning, the muscles literally burn. It's a good feeling. Because you are burning the calories and you can feel it there. The intention is to maintain a good physique, but afraid of putting that physical exertion. You have various responsibilities that demand that kind of physical exertion. We want to find all substitutes and shortcuts. And in those substitutes and shortcuts, what we end up doing are either tamasic, these tamasic methods or tamasic ingredients that we invoke and do everything as a hodgepodge and expect the results to be of the highest quality. Unrealistic. Such actions, when performed or when they are neglected because of the fear of exertion and the dukkha that it is born of, such actions are called the rajasic actions. Rajasic tyaga. It almost describes our life pattern, our lifestyle. How do we elevate from where we are? What is the right method, right pattern, right step to take in the process of self-growth? So he says in the 9th shloka, the sattvic tyaga. Karyamityeva yat karma niyatam kriyate arjuna sangam tyaktva phalam chaiva Satyaga Satviko Mataha. Karyam Ityeva Yat Karma. It is an act to be performed, fulfilling one's responsibility, therefore being performed. Not for the results of it, not for the appreciation of it, not for the recognition of it. Just because it is my responsibility, I fulfill my responsibility. There is a recent movie called American Sniper. Anybody seen it? Okay. So he retires, and then he is in a totally different mindset. So usually people go through that post-traumatic stress, and he's taken to the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist says that why do you think that you're going through this withdrawal? Why do you think you are going through this stress? And what kind of images comes in your what disturbs you? So that fellow looks and listens to him and says, no, that ain't me. Whatever you're describing, that's not why I'm disturbed. I am disturbed because I have retired, and yet there is so much to be done. I could have done a lot. Not being able to give out my best. So you don't have the guilt of having killed. He's supposed to be a sniper who unofficially must have killed about 230 people, but officially he is credited for 165 people. His job is to sit as a sniper and shoot them. So you don't carry guilt of killing all those 165 people. So no. I was ordered, this was my job in protecting my nation, my interest of my nation. I was giving my best in protecting my nation, and I don't think I have done a wrong job. Why should I carry guilt for it? Karyam ityeva tat. I did that job because it was my responsibility. The moment I heard that fellow say that dialogue, I said, this fellow understands karma yoga. Because many of us do it for all wrong reasons. We do it so that we can be recognized. We do it so that we can have our name and fame built on it. We do it so that there is a result that we anticipate. Not for the pure act itself. Just for the sake of doing it because it is my responsibility. I says, then what inspires you? And after seeing the movie, I said I should read this fellow's life. In that book, he says, what inspires you? He says, my life, dedicating it for the sake of my nation, isn't that sufficient for my inspiration? Do I need anything else as a return to inspire me? That itself is sufficient. The act in itself is inspiring. It's not in the perspective, how long will I keep doing this? So how do we build that kind of a mindset? Here I'll pay a little more attention. Because this is of value. This is of something that we need to learn to get to that stage. I briefly touched upon it on the first day. I said, in the law of causation, meaning there is a cause which transforms itself into an effect, and the effect in turn becomes the cause for the next movement, and it becomes the cause for the next movement or next effects. So if this present moment is the effect of the past, and all these experiences that are unfolding in front of us at this present moment is the result of the cause earlier, who is the one who started the trigger of the earlier cause? Whether it was an immediate past or a little delayed past. Who started that? I triggered that moment for it to result in this moment. Sometimes I may forget. Sometimes I may forget what I have started when I have started. At that time when it unfolds itself as a present moment, as the effect, there I cannot suddenly disown and say, why is this happening to me? You go to an architect, sit down with that architect and give out all your ideas, that I need a living room, I need a kitchen, and I need this kind of counter, I need this kind of countertop, I need a breakfast nook, and then I need a formal dining, I need this kind of bedroom, and the master bedroom should have this kind of shower, this kind of jacuzzi, this kind of walk-in, his and hers and his and hers and then a media room and a game room, and you give out your ideas and the architect develops a blueprint, and then you go over the blueprint and discuss and identify all the things, whether they have come in and they have been catered to, and then you approve it. Then it is filed in the county and they start constructing. And after the building has been constructed, then you look at the reality. What is this? Whose house is this? Sir, you went through the blueprint. Because sometimes what we see on the paper and what we see in the real, they can be so different. And such people cannot do online shopping. Because they cannot figure out, because they're showing this size, what is the actual size of it, what is the actual feel of it. You ordered it, you have given the approval for that blueprint, and when it turns out in reality, and they say, I don't want this. So you go to a restaurant, you look at the menu, and then you pick. And sometimes you say that, can you substitute this instead of this, and you customize it. And they are benevolent enough to say, okay, we'll allow you to customize it. I'll tell the chef to work on it. So this happened about 12, 13 years ago. I went to a Chinese restaurant. And this was back in Dallas. And I said vegetarian fried rice. By mistake, he got in a chicken fried rice. The chicken was sitting on the top of it. So I looked at him and said, I asked for a vegetarian fried rice. So he, instead of taking the order back, he brings an empty plate, picks the chicken out, and said, there you go, vegetarian now. I said, seriously? Well, I am being open with you. If I had taken him, I would have done the same. I said, no, I have my second thoughts whether to continue eating here or not. Sometimes you can say that you have ordered and it has come, and then you can demand. But you have ordered something and it comes in front of you. And that time, only thing that you have as a choice is to own it up. Whatever it has transformed into. Of recent past, I don't know why I'm qualified for it, but I have been observing, or I have been getting into situations wherein counseling for young couple. I'm totally disqualified. I have been a monk since I was 17 and I have absolutely no clue on the other side as to what happens, what is the equation. So when the couples come in for, nowadays there is a new trend setting in a counseling before marriage. I think it's a good thing to know exactly as to what you are signing up for. And you know how I scare them. I open my dialogue with them saying that there are only two kinds of people in this world. Those who are happy and those who are married. Now let us begin this session. They get married and it's like the 5, 6, 7 years into marriage, and you know, one of them wants children, the other doesn't want it. It's a package deal. When you're getting into marriage, it's a package deal. Swamiji, it is such a... And that becomes the Rajasic Tyaga. Giving up children and not having it becomes Rajasic Tyaga because of all the complications that one has to go through, from conceiving to carrying to delivering to raising. And once the job is taken, whatever the karya, to fulfill it, because it is a responsibility. Whatever, however be the task, whether it is insignificantly small, as that nobody recognizes and it is supposed to be a menial job, or something which is high and sophisticated, doesn't matter. If it has come onto your plate as responsibility, buckle up, jump into action. And do not give the cop-out saying that, oh, I am trying to give my best. That doesn't cut it. When responsibilities unfold as experiences, you cannot just say that I am trying to give my best. One has to learn to give the best that the situation is demanding. However small or however big the action be. Get up towards it. Understand what it is. Comprehensively get a complete idea as to what this responsibility is demanding out of me. Not just in its understanding, execution, but also in its results. What are the different kinds of results that it can result in, and mentally be prepared for it. And then aim for the best. I've told this example long time ago. Many of you who have come, it is a repeat, but enjoy it. So when I had come into this country, in 2002, I just arrived, they had shown my apartment, I settled in, opened up all my bag and baggage. I had to set up an altar, my personal altar in one corner. And I had been asking, people, that's when I realized that all facilities are there, but the manpower is what it was, it's not available. You have to end up doing everything yourself, which I'm okay with. So I said, at least tell me where I can get, nails and a hammer so that I can, arrange the altar. I love being hands-on, working with tools. So I don't mind going and getting. So they said, oh, find a hardware store and get it. It's somewhere around. So while I was being picked up and dropped, in those days I was not driving, license was not there. So I saw this particular shop on a strip mall, and it was about half a mile. So I walked down and I go inside. I was confused and they were also confused, looking at me, and they were looking top to bottom. And then I realized where I had landed. In India, where these, hammer, nails and things, the shop would have been clearly mentioned as nails. So here also there was this nails, and I entered in, only to realize that it was the manicure pedicure thing. This African American lady who was standing there, and she looks at me, "Yo man, what do you want?" I was like so embarrassed being there. So I said, in such situations, to come out as truthfully as possible is the best solution. So I said, look, I have just come back from India and I am searching for nails, not this kind of nails, the other kind of nails, and a hammer. Where can I find, where is the shop? Oh, that! And she had a big laugh. Like, all those people who were getting it, they had a big chuckle out of me there. And I said, that's another half mile, 3 blocks down there, and you'll find loaves. You go there and you'll find it. So got myself a handful of nails and a nice hammer, some screws and some bolt and nut and things, and some wooden plank that I could arrange. So I bring it back, and it's my responsibility to create my own altar. So I am giving it my best. So I place the nail, and I am coming from an Indian mindset. In India, the walls are brick walls. And you really have to use a jumper, to drill holes and then put a plugger and then put a screw in. So I am coming with that mindset. So I take the hammer and with all my full force, slam it in. And as I slam that in, the hammer, nail, my hand, everything goes through. This side of sheetrock and that side of sheetrock of the other side of the wall. Crack open. So now that corner of my apartment truly became a holy corner. Doubly holed. So when we say we are giving our best, is that giving the best? At that point, all that you require, then people looked at me, laughed and said, hey, you just need a thumb tag. That is the best that the situation demands. That you push that thumb tag and it is done. You can hang things there on it. Because the wall that you are pushing it in is a sheetrock, it's not a true wall. So your best is not slamming a hammer in. So to say that to fulfill a responsibility I have to give my best, no, it is not the best that is required. It is the best that the situation is demanding out of us is what has to be understood. Little did I realize that when I signed up to be a monk in Chinmaya Mission that I had to learn computers and learn various other skill sets. To learn about the cameras and the audio and I had no clue about it. But if that is what is expected is to run the responsibility efficiently, so be it. Learn it and deliver it. Deliver to the best that the situation is demanding. Otherwise it will become such a monotonous rut to be repeated. And one day I have to go to office and then same computer, same... It's not just one day. Tuesday is the same thing, Wednesday is the same thing. Hey, why are you like that? I guess I need a coffee. To jumpstart, to kickstart the day. How much ever you jump the chemicals in, the mindset, the framework has to be created from within. that it is not a monotonous task that I am jumping into, it is my life. Every experience is the brick that goes in building my life. How grandeur do I build my life? Each brick contributes to it. Each experience as a brick contributes to it. So no experience goes without my conscious effort put in, however insignificant or great that task may be. And that moment when we learn to cater to that situation, to the best that the situation is demanding out of us, we don't even need to wait for the result of the action. That day when you have delivered it to the best that the situation was demanding, there is an intense, overwhelming feeling of satisfaction right there and there. You are just awed at your own input. You are not even waiting for the output. Another recent example, this lady got into a new job. You say, oh, it is so demanding. I said, look, can you tell me your paycheck? How much do you make per annum? She said, about 80K. The work that you are pitching in, does it earn 240K? That is when you are justified taking 80K back home. Is your efforts bringing into the company at least $250,000 so that you are justified to take that 80K home? I never thought it that way. Now once you look at it from that perspective, that it is not that they are sucking your blood out, but it is your responsibility because you have signed up the dotted line to give the best to that environment that you have to contribute to. Not to just make your personal benefit out of it, but your contribution should be in such high stake that you will feel justified in taking whatever contributions that you are taking back home. And anybody working with that mindset will always find someone giving a hand to pull them up. They don't need to scheme, they don't need to plan, they don't need to work behind the scenes to plot. How do I suck up to my senior so that I get promoted? No, you will be obviously noted for your contribution. But then the politics and all the dirt of unmindfulness, unconscious living comes into picture because we don't pay attention to this Sattvika Tyaga. All that matters is self-promotion. But that which you are promoting yourself, is there something substantial to hold that image? If it is hollow, you yourself have dug yourself a huge hole to sink into. And then don't blame the environment or the surroundings around, saying that they drain you and they suck your life out of you. No, you have understood the equation wrong. On Saturdays and Sundays in Dallas ashram where I live, my day starts, I wake up at 4, but my day starts as in the ashram activities from 7 and ends at 9:30 p.m. at night. 7 in the morning to 9:30. Back-to-back events. And that day, after the meal, when I hit the sack, as they say, and I get that, that automatically the eyelids close in that deep slumber. What a sleep. And that is when I feel that worth the day lived. I have given the best that situation has demanded. Though it is draining, it doesn't feel like something is sucked out of you. The satisfaction fills up. And then we start blaming it, oh, I don't have passion for this work. Whether you have passion for this work or not, is it your responsibility? Learn the skill set, create that passion, jump in, fulfill it. I was in Minneapolis last month and it was minus 37 and the wind chill was about minus 50. So I had gone prepared, like, 4 layers of caps and I was like looking like a, that tire advertisement mission. So I was looking like that. Like anywhere I would hit, I would not feel the impact of it. I was that well layered. I stood in front of the mirror and I was laughing. If I become a sumo wrestler, this is how I would look without all these layers. So I go there, I stand, wait for the car to, the family to pick me up. And as soon as it starts complaining, oh, this terrible weather, such snow. Who asked you to stay there? Did anybody force you to stay there? Get out! But if you have to stay there for whatever reasons, and that is where your responsibility lies in, match up and do the best that the situation is demanding. At least duties you can change. Responsibilities, there is no choice, you cannot change them, you cannot run away from them. So here it is said, Karya Vityeva Yat Karma. So from the equation of Karma Yoga, which was said earlier, that Karya plus Karta equals Karma. From the Karma, what has to be given up? The Karta has to be given up. Karya is left. So when the act has to be performed without the doership, oh, can anything be done without ego? There is so much being done without ego. You wake up. Is there ego involved there? For whatever reasons you wake up. You take shower. Is there ego involved there? You eat food. Is there ego involved there? So these 3 workers were working on a high rise, and every day afternoon, there was a Russian, American and Indian working, and the Russian would look at the boiled potatoes and say, oh, again boiled potatoes, I should tell my wife, she doesn't pay attention to what I ask. And he screams and yells and makes a big scene out of it. The American, he looks at the burger and says, again a burger! And the Indian looks at his, roti, dal, chawal. And says, again roti! And if my wife repeats the same thing, I'm going to commit suicide. Enough of this kind of life. So the next day they come at lunchtime, they open their boxes, they find the potato, they find the burger, they find the roti. Frustrated with the kind of life, they jump and commit suicide. Swamiji, bad jokes. Wait, don't judge me for when I'm still narrating. I can see the reaction on your eyes. Very uncomfortable joke, Swamiji. It is not a joke actually. Hold your horses. Man. Very judgmental crowd. So the wives are informed They come running and say, oh, I wish I could have heard what he was saying. I didn't think it was so serious. All that I had to do was change his meal. I feel so sorry, said the Russian's wife. So said the American's wife. The Indian wife, she was flabbergasted and she was shocked, shell-shocked. She could not speak a word, she couldn't have a tear in her eyes. So what happened? Asked the other two ladies. She said, if he didn't like the food, I didn't know why he had to commit suicide. Because that idiot cooked it himself every single day. We get frustrated with our own end to what comes onto our table and don't like it because we believe that it has been thrust on us by someone else, from somewhere else. No, the onus is on us. I am getting what I am getting, it is because I have started it to end in this pattern. Sometimes into the congregation when people when they do publicity or ask others to come, some compelled to come. They are disinterested, they don't want to be there. And you can see that lack of interest. But they cannot run, they cannot leave because the neighbor or whoever has brought them, they are sitting next to them and they are looking at them every 5 minutes. And then and you can see that restlessness in that person, shifts their positions and moves, and then everybody is having a smile and laughing. They look around. What kind of fools are they? What is there to laugh here? And every 5 minutes or so they pick up the... It's still working, but why does it seem like it has been stuck? Why doesn't it seem like moving? Even at that compelled situation, you are in that situation because you have allowed yourself to be in that situation. You have triggered that to be there. Oh, I did. There is always a choice. Never say that I did not have a choice. Don't extend the example. So you mean to say, Swamiji, that tomorrow we need not come? That is not what I said. At every situation, we do have a choice, and it is these choices that make my next moment. Do not go into the life as an experience every single day, every single moment, as if we are leading someone else's life and dragging through it. Then it becomes draining, then it becomes frustrating, then it becomes suffocating. Then you have to tolerate with life, tolerate with people in life, tolerate with things in life. And in order to tolerate, there are some spiritual aid. I am talking about the liquid spirits. To drown yourself away from this misery. But even then, you wake up in the morning, there you are, your experience waiting for you. You cannot avoid it. So all these other temporary methods of running away, escaping, or trying to drown yourself away from remembering those responsibilities do not help. The only method is to wake up to that challenge, buckle your belt and understand what exactly is it demanding and cater to it as best as that situation is demanding out of us. Karya vityeva tat. How long has it to be done? Until the last moment, until you kick the bucket. Niyatam kriyate Arjuna. It has to be consistently done. Do you ever question how long do I have to breathe? enough of this. How long do I have to eat? How long do I have to eat? How long do I have to sleep? Nobody questions these things. Similarly, everything around as an experience as it unfolds cannot disown one's own responsibilities because it is one's own life. Sangam tyaktva phalam chaiva. And with that kind of mindset now prepared, it doesn't even matter as to what is the result. You've already taken that into account. You don't need to worry about it. Again, going back to the other days, 95% of our life is on a routine constant. Isn't it? Of that 95%, you are constantly dealing with an average of 10 to 12 people. About 10 with different environments that you handle. And how long have you been dealing with this routine? At least for 5 years. 4 to 5 years, the same routine has been existing. Instead of getting frustrated with the routine, shouldn't we have perfected the routine? That it becomes so methodical that there is not, it becomes a reflex action. That it becomes a reflex action that you do it out of your second nature. You don't even need to spend a second thought on it. But we carry forward with one experience to the other as a dragging moment. How long will I lead this kind of life? Absolutely, thank you. Whoever made that audio effect. Yes, that is how life will become. But instead the mindset is not looking for even the result. You know that the results will come because you have put the act. It will come back wherever it has to unfold. And another conviction which is well rooted in this Sattvic Tyaga mindset is that nothing can be snatched from the acts that I have performed. These results will unfold and come unto me and me alone. Nobody else can snatch it. It may feel, living in a suffocated cubicle politics environment, that I put the effort, my boss takes the result. I put the effort, this fellow of Sly, he snatches all the... It may appear. But the results that we have put effort for, nobody else can snatch it. If I eat food, will your hunger be satiated? Effort I am putting, you should be able to snatch the results. If you are having headache, I out of compassion take Tylenols. Will your headache be relieved? So because of excessive Tylenol, I will also add on with you to become a headache. I put the effort and the results cannot be snatched. Therefore, I don't need to worry about them. It will unfold when the season is right, when the time is right. समय से पहले और नसीब से ज्यादा कभी किसी को कुछ मिलता नहीं। समय से पहले, नसीब से ज़्यादा. In time, everything unfolds. And the person has enough depth to root himself in and not be anxious for the results, because they will unfold when they unfold. There were this group of monkeys that were given a task to take care of a garden. And the owner had to leave, left just the instruction that keep watering them. So the monkeys, there was a good troop of monkeys, and they had a committee meeting. They had executive committee, they had board members, and they had everybody sitting there. And they said, the task is given, but the main question is, how much water to which plant? So they had deliberations for a few hours and then finally decided. The most loudest monkey was the one who increased not the logic but the volume to get through to everyone, and forcefully decided that we can only decide how much water to give if we know how long their roots are. So they set up a subcommittee to decide and find how much each tree's roots length are. And that subcommittee created a working committee which would go execute and pull out each plant and measure. By the time this fellow came back, the garden was non-existent. Yeah, garden tha. There was a garden here. It happened once. I was in India, and I had planted about 14 different kinds of jasmine plants. I had acquired them from all over my travel. Wherever I had gone in US, they had this unique jasmine plant. I gathered it and cultivated it, and then because of the winters, I had to be careful, so I dug about 3 feet deep each, and made sure that the roots were well protected, and left for India. I have this gardener who takes care of the lawn mowing and other things, and these are cordoned off, nicely brick cordoned off, and there are 14 of them. I went for 3 months. By the time I came back, the first day he knocks on my door, very proud. There was this very strong dirty weed in your backyard. And they were so deep rooted, I had to dig 3 feet. Are you talking about my favorite collection? We do with that, with our lives, consciously or unconsciously, with every single experiment, every single experience. That we keep digging in unnecessarily with our own anxieties. It is done, right? Whatever is the result, now have equal depth to accept the result. But I don't know what. And then acidity, and then tension. And you become the cause for tension to everybody. And if your spouse is the kind wherein it doesn't delve deeper into such anxiety, you don't care anymore. What? I do care, but I do care for you also. Please step away. Whatever when it comes, we will take care of it. See, you're least bothered about it. Worrying does not take you to a better result. Sometimes when an Indian family offers, food and the last round, if there, it is typically the yogurt, last course. And then they bring that yogurt saying, it is homemade, Swamiji. I'm like looking at a big deal. Making a yogurt is that big an effort or what? A big deal, and I'm staring at them. Imagine, how many of you can create yogurt, manufacture yogurt? All of you? You know the method? Yes. Some yes. Okay, good. What is it? Oh, you also do?
All the time.
I get the sarcasm in your voice. Yeah? So when you get to that room temperature or a little higher than room temperature, you add the culture and make sure that the culture is a good one. Sometimes after it becomes sticky, slimy. It is still yogurt. It still has probiotics, but the feel when it's little strange. So the culture has to be good. You add that culture and keep it in a warm corner. Every 20 minutes you go. Hua ki nahi? Is it done or not? And you constantly keep. Would that ever result?
No.
After having set it, what do you have to do? Sleep it over. Let the culture also sleep. Then it will have enough time and room for it to develop. Anxiety. In that anxiety, the result which was supposed to be in a uniform manner, even that gets disturbed. Sangam tyaktva phalam chaiva satyagaha satvikaha mataha. Such one is called sattvika tyaga, wherein you have given up the anxiety towards it. Again, you need to be experienced to get out of that anxiety. You go through one set of experience, and by the time you are to the second experience, with the depth of your understanding of first experience, when you come to the second one, your anxiety is reduced. That's why I call it the first child is always an experiment. In a good way. So when a pacifier falls, first child, what do? Take it, boiling water, drop it for 30 seconds, pick it up, rinse it again in cold water, and then plug it back in. First child. Little bit of cough and the sleeplessness of the child, directly to ER. And the doctor looks at you and says, first child? Your child is actually fine, take home. Or we will bill you though. Thank you for coming by. By the time you become experienced and you know what things that you need not be anxious about because of the depth of your earlier experience. So by the time it is second child and pacifier falls, what do? Dust it off and plug it back in. What's that?
10 seconds.
Yeah, that is when you start developing 5-second rule, 10-second rule. I have heard all the way to 35 seconds. By the time it is the third kid, you ask that fellow to pick it up, put it back in your mouth. Right? You're no more anxious. Pick it up. Yeah, pick it up. Put it back in. Done. So by the time you mature through experiences, the depth of earlier experiences will definitely reduce that anxiety too. So the readiness to accept any experience, however new, so that I learn and through that learning process get to that maturity. And in that learning process, sometimes you may fall, sometimes you may stand. As many times you fall, you have learnt that many ways not to fall for the next time. So it is not a failure, it is a learning step, a learning curve. Have you learned cycling? Bike. While learning it, how many times have you fallen down? Several times?
I don't know.
I know you did not count, but several times, right?
More than 10 at least.
Okay, it is also given the count. So while learning a cycle, you have to have lot of band-aids. So here one day, there one day, this scratch, that. The first time you attempted, fall. Terrible thing, I'm not going to touch it again. I don't know what will happen if I don't fall. For that matter, did we come out of the mother's womb running? We were lying there flat for about 5 to 6 months. Every fellow that comes with choo choo choo. I don't know what that kid must be feeling. Yeah, you take off your dirty hands. No. Whether hunger, whether the potty or toilet or whatever, there's only one signal. Now the mother has to figure out as to what is this cry for. Is it for an input or an output? Why is this kid crying? And then comes the day when the child turns over. It's a celebration. In many Indian traditions, they celebrate that moment. Why? Freedom, accessibility has gained. And slowly starts pulling and crawling all over. And suddenly, push-ups. And starts going all over on the floor. Then comes the moment, that Kodak moment of life, wherein suddenly leaves and stands there, and he also suffers. Before you can rush, get your gather the thought. How many times the child has to fall before learning to balance the two steps? Is it a simple step? How many hours, days of practice without giving up? Therefore, a Hindi poet said it beautifully. He said, "ऐसे कैसे भूला जिंदगी की पहली सीख, ऐसे कैसे भूला जिंदगी की पहली सीख, चलते चलते गिरना, गिरते गिरते उठना, उठकर संभलना, फिर सही चलना सीखा, ऐसे कैसे भूला तूने जिंदगी की पहली सीख." That is the first experience, or was the first thing that most of us are learning. That we create, I mean, in any sense, like a balanced effort to put those 2 feet and to access that balance and not fall and keep walking. And those initial days, they keep bending on one side and they keep running on that side and just fall after 5 steps. And then they realize that, oh, when I'm going this side, I have to lean this side. Nobody is teaching them, they're figuring it out themselves. After many such falls, we learn how to walk. How can any other experience be different? It's okay to fall. Learn, pick up. Gather yourself. Learn from that. Gather that experience as wisdom. So that the next step, you make sure you don't make that mistake. Those anxieties also given up. Such one is called the Sattvika Tyaga. There's still about 5 minutes, but I think I'll conclude ahead. Because the next concept, I would be just able to chant the shloka and not move forward. We'll see it tomorrow. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha